Hey everyone, welcome to the number 2 Septic podcast. Today I'm really excited to have Travis Pipe on. He is Excavation and Septic in Colorado. So, Travis, welcome to the podcast. Tell us about your business, where you're located, and kind of what services you offer so we have context when we have this conversation.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm super glad to be here. We offer a wide variety of septic services up in northern Colorado, based out of Loveland, Colorado. And we do a large variety of septic services, but then also we do house foundations. And then we also do utility trenching, a wide variety of different things. So we got started about a year and a half ago,
Oh, wow.
February of 2025. It's a new company.
Wow.
But me and my business partner started it then, and he owns a general contracting company, which he's
Okay.
owned for a good while. And because of that, that's kind of gotten us a jump start into the whole excavation industry. So we started off working solely for him for quite a while, for the first 5, 6 months. And it wasn't until about a year ago that we started branching out, doing other general contractors, doing stuff for homeowners, and growing a little bit more. Um, but yeah, that's how we got started. That's how we got into a wide variety of work between the foundation, septic systems,
Mhm.
and utility trenching and grading and all of that stuff. It just kind of happened to be he needed them done on his job site, so we started doing it all and eventually got good enough to do it for other people too.
So you just said yes. You just came saying yes to the things in front
Yep,
of you.
yep, we
Yeah.
just do it all.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you say foundations, is it a specific part of the foundation that you're doing, or you're doing the entire foundation process minus concrete, or kind of what does that look like for foundations?
It depends. Mostly we're doing just digging the hole for the foundation.
Mm.
When it comes to certain homeowners, we do offer things where we'll take care of the foundation as well, but then in that case, we sub it out to
Yeah.
other concrete companies that we work very closely with. There's a few that I work with very regularly, and then I'll have them come in and do it, but it's pretty rare that we do it. It's cheaper for the client to not use us for the foundation too. It's more of an ease of access thing if they're wanting us to take care of it too.
Yeah, just take care of all the things for them that they need.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
exactly.
So you've been in business, is it been about 2 years? A year and a
Yeah,
half?
we're coming up on it's been just over a year and a half, I'd say. We
Okay.
really started picking up February of 2025. And before that, there was a few months of kind of doing odd jobs. I was working for the general contractor a little bit as a kind of as a side thing in my own life. So I'd pop up every once in a while to doing a job for him, just run his equipment for him. And then about, yeah, February last year is when we actually started picking up and became an actual company, so to
Yeah.
speak.
And how many team members do you have now? And what are their roles?
So I'm out in the field quite consistently, and then I'm also in the office. I'm spread out between everything, obviously, as with me running everything.
Yeah.
We have one guy out in the field that kind of runs the projects himself. I check up on him every once in a while, and then I got another operator that helps him out. And then we have a guy that's part-time that will come help me out. Sometimes we'll split up into two groups, or sometimes it'll just be the three of us. And then we got about three people that are part-time in the office that we actually share the employees with a general contracting
Oh,
company.
nice.
And they take care of our marketing, accounting. There's a lady that does all our permitting and licensing for me. So
That's
it
fantastic.
works out really well to kind of share employees with them.
Yeah, and that is your business partner's company.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So we have about four people that are shared between the two,
Mhm.
and then three people that are exclusively only for the excavation side of things.
Yeah. Well, that I would say that's a lot of growth in a short period of time. So it sounds like it must be a wild ride that you've
Oh
been
yeah,
on.
it has been. We're
Yeah.
booked out months, and we're looking at hiring more people potentially early next year, getting probably another two or three people on board.
And what would you say keeps you the most busy? Is it like, is there a certain line of service that you feel like is keeping you the most busy or like a couple top things?
It's been It's been a healthy mixture of everything. I'd say about half of our work is for general contractors doing digging foundations, doing
Hmm.
utility lines. We do civil, we do a lot of the erosion control and civil stuff
Yeah.
too for general contractors. So about half of it is spent doing that kind of stuff. The other half of it is spent doing septics for general contractors or more often straight to the homeowners.
Okay. So if you were to had a guess, would you say it's about an even mix of kind of B2B and B2C?
Yeah, yep. I'd say 50-50 between the
Yeah.
two. Recently, it fluctuates over time, especially in the middle of the summer. We're a lot more busy with the general contractors.
Yeah.
And then earlier spring, later in the fall, we'll start picking up more of the homeowner stuff, try to catch up on those before the winter comes and stuff. But
Hmm. Yeah, things slow down a lot in Colorado during the winter months, don't they? When it's just the ground
yeah,
is frozen.
yeah, this past winter it was very, very mild though, so we did not slow
Mhm.
down at all.
Yeah. Well, that's it's just really fun to hear your success in a short period of time. I think it's inspirational probably to everyone that's listening because it's like if you see a story of someone, having a dream, going after it, succeeding, it just reminds all of us like we can do it too. So really just thank you for sharing all of those things, but I'm sure you've also had some hard lessons along the way. So share with us some of the lessons learned, I think in the whirlwind that it's been, things that if you were to go back again, would you do differently or just sort of growing pains or, what also, I have so many questions, so I'll keep the other ones. But yeah, let's start with the hard things first, and then we'll tackle like what went well later.
Okay. Yeah, with growing so fast, we've definitely had our fair share of growing pains as well. The two biggest things that we struggled with right off the bat were A, finding the right people to hire. We
Mm,
started hiring right off the bat and we just went full in. It
mm,
was right away, we started with 3 guys on the crew
wow.
and went right into, I think, our first week of business. We dug 2 or 3 foundations and we're putting in water lines. We hit the ground running. But with that, we didn't have a lot of thought going into it. So I wish we would have worked on our hiring a little bit more
Mm,
and working on our company setup. So at the beginning, the big part was finding good workers and good help. There was a lot of people out there that they sound very good on a resume, but they're not so good when you put them to the test. So now we finally got people that are on board. They've been around for a little while. They're doing amazing. And then the other thing that we struggled a lot with at the beginning was cash flow. We
mm,
never really had a problem with having the cash because the general contracting company had plenty of money to
mm,
support us through any hard times. But at the beginning, we didn't have our contracts set up in the best way. We didn't have accounts set up at all of the suppliers, so we couldn't buy things on credit, and we'd have to be carrying a lot of cost at the same time. So those were the two big things, but we worked through them, and now it's not really an issue anymore.
yeah. Well, it sounds like you had a pipeline of work ready for you from the general contracting company. And so
Yes.
it came really fast in the beginning. How did you solve the hiring issue? Because I know that's a big issue for a lot of people, especially if they do things a little differently than you. They don't have a partner going in, and so they just start it themselves and they slowly add people. It can be really scary to hand over control to somebody else. So you kind of
Yeah.
stuck to that scary. You just kind of went all in, which is great. But what have you learned about hiring and doing it better? And kind of like if you needed someone new, what would be your process to go find someone new today?
I use a lot of the online stuff and just get a lot of word out there that we're hiring using
Mm-hmm.
things like ZipRecruiter, stuff like that. And once you get the word out, we get a lot of resumes, but we just have a very strict, you go through them, you make sure they're exactly what you're looking for. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd say out of all the resumes we get, probably 1 out of 20 of them are somebody I'd actually even reach out to. So the biggest thing is getting the word out there and
Yeah.
getting a lot of people to apply so that you actually have options to go off of. For us finding the right people, some of it was purely by luck, I say.
Yeah. Yeah.
The last guy that we hired that's been amazing just happened to call me up out of the blue, following up on submitting his resume, and then I happened to know another lady that had worked with him, and she said that he did great, and it kind of just fell into place. So,
I love that.
um, but yeah, getting the word out there, I think, is the biggest thing.
And just realizing that you have to have a certain quantity of people to
Yeah.
go through before you find the winner. And sounds like you've probably had to let some people go as well in that time.
Yes. Yeah, there's been a few people that have just not panned out very good. Um, and after hearing them interview and seeing how they acted, you kind of learn over time when
Mm,
they're acting a certain way in an interview. You can kind of start seeing when they're making excuses for things, stuff like that. Um, yeah, we've gone through a few people, but
yeah,
it's been something we kind of bounced back from pretty fast and started looking for the
that's
next
good.
person.
Yeah, just move on.
We've definitely had our struggles too.
Yeah.
We've definitely had our struggles in hiring, and I think it's something every company will face.
Yes, I agree. Have you ever found in hiring people that people who have really great kind of charisma and the interview sometimes are not the best employees, and then the ones that have less charisma are really like the ones that surprise you? I found this personally in interviewing. I don't know if you've seen the same thing. And kind of, it's sometimes people lean on their personality to sort of
Yes,
skate them through and get them the job, whereas like the work ethic is and the core values are not necessarily there all the time.
exactly. I've definitely seen that a lot of the times when we're talking to somebody in the interview, they can give a lot of certifications and projects they've done and a lot of
Mm,
background of the things they've done that show that they're a good person. And a lot of times when they're showing you all of that and talking themselves up so much, it ends up being they're having to talk themselves up for a reason because they can't show it very
mm,
well.
yeah.
The ones that have panned out really well seem like they're applying to our company simply because they like what we're doing, they like the variety,
Mm,
and they're following up on their resumes because they want to come work with us because of the small company, the variety, and
yeah.
something different than a lot of other excavation companies where you're tied to doing the same thing every day. And so
Yeah.
just seeing a desire of someone wanting to work there is a big teller that they'll probably work out pretty well.
Mm, that's really good. That's really great advice. So the cash flow issue, that was hard starting out, but what are some of the lessons learned, things that you figured out to kind of iron the cash flow? Was it just time, or was there kind of some other things that you did to make that work better?
There was it was a mixture between time, between people paying us because obviously we started working out for a general contractor. And a
Hmm.
lot of times for a general contractor, the terms are net 30
Yeah.
all the way up to I've had them net 45, net 60 before.
Hmm.
And so you start carrying a lot of cash, and especially when it starts coming to septic systems. For one septic system, we're on average spending probably ten to $20,000 in materials. And so that stacks up really quickly over a month.
Yeah.
And so once we got going a little bit, that helped out a lot. Some of it is just a time thing of you have to be in business, you have to know people, and then once you have those references, you can put them into your distributors and get some credit account set up and have people that will vouch for you. And once
Mm.
we got that, that's definitely helped out a lot. And once we were in business for a little while, the we started getting enough cash where we were able to carry at least the general contractor stuff for quite a while. And then when it comes to the homeowner septic side of things,
Hmm.
we have implemented a thing where they kind of pay throughout the middle of the job. And so they'll pay us for the engineering portion. And then after that, we typically now require a deposit for the materials and permitting side of things before we ever show up to do the actual installation. And that's helped us a lot with the cash flow side of things too, and helped protect us more when people aren't so ready and willing to pay.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you feel like helped you get the word out with the residential side, which I'm sure it helps cash flow more because that's you don't have these nets, these long nets with that, and they're usually smaller jobs than the commercial stuff.
Yes. So getting into the residential world, it was pretty easy once we started going straight to homeowners. Once again, we went right off of the general contracting company,
Okay.
and so we used their marketing plan, and we just jumped right into posting ads on Facebook,
Mm,
Instagram. We got SEO set up for our website. We had somebody who knows how to do their websites good, build us a website, and we just jumped right into spending a good amount of money on the marketing side of things. And as soon as we did that, started getting calls, and then at that point, it's just sales and closing the job.
that's great. I think what's really interesting about hearing your story and hearing you talk, I don't know if you've had the pleasure of talking to guys who have been in the industry for a really long time. But I've done quite a bit of speaking at local events. I live in Texas, and so I've met people who are in their 80s and they've just been doing this forever. And so it's really like fun and fresh and exciting to hear you just starting your business and how you're doing things because though I mean those guys they're on their way out, which is fine. They're looking forward to
Hmm.
retirement and they're doing what they need to do and that's great for them. But a lot of them maybe the ones that aren't quite 80 or they're trying to pass the business along to their son. A lot of them what they say is I've just never had to pay for marketing before. And so
Yeah.
that's hard for them. That's a really hard if you've been in the industry for a really long time and you've done things a certain way for a really long time, you can get really comfortable and it's can be hard to do things and to kind of make bigger decisions that are going to help you grow. But you not having that, I wouldn't call it baggage, but having that background where you become really comfortable, where you're the guy doing all the things, and you've never had to market, and it's hard to give up control of stuff. I think you've just jumped in. And so just for
Yeah.
the listeners, this is kind of like my lesson. I'm listening to what you're saying and pulling out, is that sometimes guys who are younger, we grew up around technology as younger folk, and we know the value of that can be a really huge benefit to your business is to invest in marketing, invest in hiring people, invest in a partner. All those things can be really successful, and they do all cost money, right? Like having a partner in working with a general contracting company, it costs money. Doing marketing, getting a website, SEO, all stuff
Yep.
costs money. But whenever you're investing in your business, it should always be you're putting $1 in and getting $5 out, or whatever that equation
Yes.
is, and then it becomes like a money printing machine, kind
It's
of,
very
in a lot
true.
of ways. So
Yeah, a lot of it turns into it definitely costs money to do the marketing and things
yeah.
like that. But what I've seen is the amount of calls you get directly correlates to how much money you're spending on your marketing
Hmm.
and how good your people are running
Yeah.
the ads, running the website, doing the SEO, things like that. It directly correlates to how good they are and how much money you're willing to put towards it. And if you can sell jobs, you know what you're talking about, and you get plenty of calls, it's definitely worth spending the money on marketing. It's
Yeah.
kept us quite busy.
Yeah. So busy that you're having to keep up. You're creating some good problems for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great. So do you do most of the sales yourself for some of the bigger jobs? I know you've got some people that you're sharing office staff with that are answering the phone. Do they kind of, how does that sales process work? Do they hand it off to you? Who's closing those deals? Because that actually is its own skill set, is someone calling and closing the deal.
Yeah. Um, I actually do everything on the sales side. The
Okay.
people in the office, they'll take care of some of the paperwork side of things when it comes to the marketing side, getting the permits and the licenses. But all the ads run straight to my phone and I take all the
Okay.
phone calls. And then when it comes to the sales, yeah, do it all myself. I visit the job sites all myself.
Hmm.
I mostly jump between being on the job site, and then I try to schedule my sales meetings for that area for the same day I'm on that job
Hmm.
site. Kind of swing over to meetings throughout the day. Um, And yeah, I do all the sales myself and I enjoy it a lot. I think that's my favorite part of the whole
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, it's just sort of how you're wired, which is,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's really fun. Did you have sales experience prior to doing this business?
No, I didn't have any explicit sales experience, but I had, before I got into excavation, I've done lot of other jobs, and every one of those jobs helped me to relate with people, and I worked with a lot of people in
Hmm.
those sides of things. And I did a lot of my own side jobs for myself before I ever got into the excavation side of things. When I was doing my other jobs, I would sell fencing jobs on the side and go do them myself. And so I was really comfortable with already talking to people, going to a sales meeting, had already done it myself before, so it kind of just felt natural to me. I'm very much a people person and extrovert, so I've
Yeah.
never had a problem with the sales side.
Yeah. If you were to someday pass that job off to somebody else who also is wired to be a salesperson, what would be your top tips you would give to that person if you were passing that job off for success?
Definitely would be that I come to sales with the mindset that I'm not there to sell myself and make myself look good. I'm more there to help the client out. I try to do everything in our business with mostly care for our customers and
Yeah,
clients. I figure if you treat your customers well, the money will come later. Um,
absolutely.
the word will get out there that you treat them well. And so that starts right at the sales meeting. You're not there to try to sell them on this add-on or to do something that they don't need
Hmm.
actually on their system or try to upsell things or try to get them to buy more things than they need to. It's just very straightforward and care for the customer like it's you wanting to buy a septic system yourself and treat them like you would want someone to treat you. And I
Yeah.
think just coming from that care and that baseline of trying to help somebody completely changes it from sales just to being more of an education person and
Mhm.
educator on what they're dealing with and how we can help them.
That's such fantastic advice. I know if any of us were to go, if someone, I mean, the guys are probably fine. For me, if I'm to take my car in to go to the mechanic, I don't want to be upsold on a bunch of stuff that I don't even understand what they're saying. And they can say anything to
Exactly.
me. And if I thought that they were being truthful, I would spend that money. And I think it's very similar in the septic industry is the customer has no idea what they need or don't need. So it really is up to the mercy of the business owner to be honest and be truthful. And I think that people have a sixth sense about that. Hopefully, and not everybody does,
Hmm.
unfortunately, but I think people know that. And then when you say something to them like you don't actually need that, and you're giving them advice, even if it's not making you the maximum amount of dollars, people see that, and I think it really builds trust, which probably helps the
Yes.
entire project go better because you
Yep.
built trust in the very first conversation, and the rest of it they have that trust, and it just helps set expectations.
Yes, that has definitely gone a long way, and I've seen it right off the bat. There's been times where I've showed up and you can tell right off the bat that the the customer has not had good experiences with contractors in the past. They're really skittish and nervous. And most of the times by the end of the sales meeting, I try to go through everything, explain it as best as I can. And a lot of times it sets the tone for the rest of the project where they're not
Hmm.
as worried about it and it makes them not as nervous. It gives us more space to work and it ends up working
Hmm.
out for the best to fix that right off the get-go. And then the other biggest thing I've seen with sales too is just calling people back. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable how many people give us the job because we called back and they're like, we talked to so many septic
Hmm.
contractors and you're the only one that seemed like you wanted the job. And so, I mean, just calling people back will already help you out a lot.
Yeah. That if people don't, I mean, there's been so many great nuggets just at this like short, like first 30 minutes, but if people don't take anything else from it, just call people back. That is such
Yep.
wisdom right there. And you probably have literally hundreds of thousands of dollars hiding behind just a second phone call
Yep.
Just following up with somebody is huge, and it's not normal. It should be normal, but it's not. And so it's really can be really easy to stand out just by doing that follow up. And I like what you said, acting like you want the job. I think that's really good.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I figure if you show up when you say you're going to be there, you're super open and honest, and you call people back, you're probably already better than 90% of the
Yeah.
other contractors out there today.
Yeah. That's really great. Yeah. So you guys do the new installs. Do you also do you service and do maintenance on septic systems?
We don't do much of that. There's been a little bit of stuff we have done, but we definitely focus on the new installs,
Mm-hmm.
tank replacements, putting in new leach fields. We're definitely more on the installation side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've thought a little bit about it. Maybe as we grow, I'd like to get more into the pumping side and the maintenance side. And especially here in Colorado, there's a lot more stuff with we're getting some new regulations
Mm,
where there's a lot more need for advanced treatment units, secondary levels of treatment. And so I'd like to start getting into those areas more, start getting more into the maintenance side of those higher level treatment tanks. But we haven't started doing that yet. We're staying plenty busy with just the new installs and digging foundations.
yeah, that's awesome. So, as far as your business operations, most people track some numbers. I guess some people don't track any, but most people are tracking some numbers. Whether that's their QuickBooks or their profit and loss statement, or they have a CRM and they're tracking their jobs. What do you track any numbers in your business, and which ones do you feel like are the most important that have helped you with the operations?
Um, I don't track much for numbers. The biggest things I track is obviously the profit and loss because me and my business partner have a meeting every month where we go over the profit and
Oh,
loss.
that's great.
So that's the biggest thing, gives the best overview numbers wise. The only other things I look at would really be closing rate of the sales and the phone calls I get, and then what our lead cost is, our cost per
Okay.
lead. Those are the two main things I focus on, and the rest of it, I figure, as long as I'm being somewhat smart and having some common sense, nothing
Mm,
should be too far over
yeah,
where I don't feel as big of a need to track those other numbers.
that's great. I really love that. How do you build weather days in with, I know you had a mild winter in Colorado this past winter, but if you have a crazy winter, if you have like an El Nino winter, um, how could you do things in your business to sort of set yourself up for some of those slower months? Is there any kind of tips you have about helping the business with the weather going on?
Um, for the most part, Colorado has enough dry winters where we can stay busy somewhat through the winters.
Hmm.
At least out in the plains, not so much up in the mountains, but out in the plains and in that area, you can mostly stay somewhat busy throughout there. As for having days that come up where it's snowy, rainy, things just really can't be done, it's never been too much of a problem. We're super open with our customers that we kind of play our schedule by ear. We
Hmm.
don't ever set specific dates until we're 2, 3 weeks out.
Yeah.
And then even then, most customers are understanding on rain days, things like that. You don't want to tear up their yard. So
Yeah.
it mostly works out pretty good because we don't follow a strict schedule until we're getting close to the actual job. And by then,
Hmm.
hopefully, we have some sort of idea of what the weather's going to be. And
Yeah.
then I just keep the guys busy around the yard. Mostly, I have quite a list built up by the time we have a rain day where we got plenty of materials that need to be bought, tools that need to be bought, equipment to service, things like that.
Hmm. That's great. Without giving away your pricing playbook, how do you stay competitive against any lowballers out there, or what's sort of your philosophy on pricing your services?
Um, I don't even know where a lot of other people are at. I think a good amount of them are a bit cheaper than us. And it just doesn't bug me at all. We get
Yeah.
plenty enough work. I know where our equipment cost and our payroll expenses are. I know where we have to be to make money.
Yeah.
And so I price it according to that. And if we're too expensive for somebody, I tell them, I'm sorry, I can't do it for any cheaper, but I'm sure there's people out there. In fact,
Hmm.
there's some times where I know people are a very cost conscious client, and then right from
Hmm.
the get go I tell them I would highly recommend looking other places because we're probably more expensive than other people will be.
Yeah.
um, the other way we keep our prices down is we do offer some discounts sometimes when we do a full foundation excavation, septic system, grading, utility trenching, all of that. We do get a good amount of homeowners and then obviously general contractors who need all of it. And then we can a lot of times give cost breaks and work into our schedule where we do a lot of things at the same time and save on our mobilization cost a lot.
Hmm.
And at that point, we can compete with cheaper companies, even though we're still making good profit margins because they don't need two separate companies. We can come and do it
Yeah.
all at one time.
Yeah. That's a lot of peace of mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Peace of mind for them, and it ends up being the best for me. I schedule out a full week and we
Hmm.
just jump between all the different things on the job site for that week and come back once or twice later on, and that's it.
So we've already talked about, some of the hardest things you faced in business and what you've done to overcome them. But what do you feel like has been some of the really big wins that you look back and you're just like, yeah, I'm really glad I did it that way?
Um, there's two. Well, I think the biggest win was the first time we started doing jobs for other general contractors. Um, there was just one job that we hit that was very big. It was a big house foundation. We were doing a big long driveway, all the civils, doing a big septic system. And it was when we sold that job where it just kind of fit like, wow, we're serious about this. We're going to get
Mm.
big. And
Hmm.
so we figured it out. We did it. It went great. Enjoyed doing it a lot. But once we sold that and went through it and realized that that wasn't even hard to do, that we already knew how to do all of it, um, it kind of was a big breakthrough point for
Yeah.
us. And after that, it's been quite exponential.
Yeah. That kind of the early win gave you good
Yes.
confidence. Yeah. That's great.
Yes. And I will say when I first bid the job, I was like, wow, I don't know how I'm even going to do this with the guys I got and the equipment I had.
Mm.
But I figured we had a few months to figure it out. So by the
Yeah.
time we got there, it went great, went incredibly smooth, never had a
Yeah.
problem on it. And realizing that I just had to put the time into thinking it
Mm.
through,
Hmm.
it kind of just built a confidence. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It was a big risk, but
yes,
I think sometimes risk is, I mean, not every risk pays off, but that one obviously did. And I think sometimes with risk, it's just about believing in your not knowing. You don't have to know everything about it, but you believe in your ability to figure it out. And that's kind of
yes.
where the confidence comes from ahead of time. Is like, I've not done a job this big before, but I believe in my ability to figure it out. And you kind of just borrow that confidence from the smaller jobs and just take it forward, and the risk obviously paid off.
Yes, exactly. And also, it helps too because it's the same as a small job, it's just bigger scale. That's all it is. There wasn't anything harder than doing a small
Yeah,
job on that bigger job. It's
yeah.
it's just the same thing, bigger scale, and it's helped a lot since before I came into excavation, I
Hmm.
did have a history in doing some project management for the general contracting company that we're partners with.
Yeah,
And so it's helped me a lot to see what the GC side is like, what they need to see from subcontractors, what makes a good subcontractor and what makes a terrible subcontractor. And that's really given me an edge on being able to work with general contractors because
yeah.
I know exactly what they're looking for.
Okay, so tell us your secrets. What exactly are they looking for, and what are they not looking for?
Um, biggest thing is good communication, like I
Yeah.
said, and showing up on time. That goes a long way with general contractors, but then also just being really flexible on prices. They're there to make money too, and
Hmm.
anytime that you're trying to die on some hill of trying to make a little bit extra for this little add-on, a lot of time hurts them in the end, depending on how their contracts are set up. So really good communication, being flexible on price, working with them instead of against them, and just keeping where your profits at open with them and just being really open and honest. And once a general contractor sees that out of their subs, that helps a lot. And then the other thing is being really having a caring heart for the homeowner, not
Mm,
just the general contractor. So going out of our way to help the general contractor and the homeowner out. And a lot of times the homeowners love us, and then by then they'll let the general contractor know. And once they see a subcontractor treating the
mm,
homeowner like their own customer, that goes a long way.
yeah. Especially, I'm sure, for repeat business, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Where do you see your company 5 years from now?
I don't know. Things change so fast and we're growing so fast. I sometimes think I set my goals a little too low. Um, I'm hoping in 5 years to start getting in more into the pumping side of things,
Mm,
maintenance side of things, and grow on that side. I'm
yeah.
also really hoping to expand the commercial side of things between commercial job sites for grading and
Mm,
building stuff, and then also the commercial side of the septic world. And
yeah.
so we already got jobs in the pipeline for the commercial side of things. Um, we're already getting into that a little bit more, but I want to start focusing on that much more in the next five
Mhm.
years. And then hopefully we'll start splitting up into having two different sections of the company. One focus more towards the general contractor, foundations, trenching, grading side of things, and then one specifically set aside for the septic.
That's great. Yeah, those maintenance and the pumping is some really great recurring revenue, which is nice.
Yes.
Yeah,
For where we're at right now, I've gone through the numbers of the pumping side of things, and we tend to make more money on the installation side of
for
things.
sure.
Um, And so we're really focusing on that. And so until we're getting slower on that side and have a gap to fill, I think I'm just going to keep growing the installation side.
Yeah, just keep pushing that button.
Yep.
Yeah, cranking that out. Well,
Yep.
this is a fun question I like to wrap up with. And I ask people if you were to go back in time to when you first started and give yourself advice. But what's so fun about you is that was like 18 months ago. So I just did
Uh-huh.
an interview and it was 30 years ago for him. But I think it's a good perspective. It's a good balanced perspective. So go back 18 months. And if you were to see yourself then time travel, what would you tell Travis 18 months ago? What's like your best advice you would give yourself?
Um, yeah, it hasn't been a long time at all, but I've definitely grown a lot in the first 18
Mm,
months.
yeah.
I think the biggest thing is learning how to take advice, especially when you're being newer in the company. It can be a little hard to be hard-headed and think,
Mm,
oh, I know what I'm doing. But there's a lot of people that have been in the industry for 30 years, and just being willing to glean from them
right.
helps a ton. And then also just being willing to put your head down and work. I didn't
Yeah.
realize how much I was getting myself into. I didn't realize how many late nights and early mornings I'd have. Um, but just being willing to stick through it. There's going to be some really tough times, some really stressful
Mhm.
times, especially with a quick growth.
Yeah.
Um, but just sticking through it, and it's so worth it in the end. And you have to go through some pain in order to get the gain from it. So it's worth sticking it out, and you learn from all that tough times.
Yeah. That's great. That's really good advice. Well, Travis, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you for bringing your energy. I'm like energized just after talking to you. And so I know your business
Great.
gets that same amount of energy. But just thank you for being on and sharing your story with us.
Absolutely. I enjoyed every minute of it.